So cryptocurrency is a broad term. Like think of it as an umbrella, and there's so much that goes underneath it. Most of the time, when someone talks about crypto, they're talking about Bitcoin or Ethereum. Okay. Those are like, think of those two as like the blue stock chips of the NASDAQ, right? Very, everyone knows them. You can you track the price pretty easily on an exchange. So then you have, okay, so that's like number one. Number two is we have stable coins, which are usually pegged to the US dollar. And those I say are kind of like, I don't know, like treasury bonds. Okay. Then you have everything else, which I call a lottery ticket. Don't go there. Only buy it if you have a high risk tolerance. Maybe you'll win the Powerball. Maybe you won't. So when we talk about crypto today, what I'm really going to be actually referring to is Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe stablecoin.
Yeah, and so if you're an owner, I talk a lot about attracting a premium buyer. And so a premium buyer might come to you with Bitcoin, might not. We can talk about that in a second if we need to. But if they come to you with some, Zootopia coin or something like that, unless you have a business that's really hard to sell, you can't get anything for it, super risky, probably shouldn't even look at that because the risk is too high. But we have to talk about earnouts and stuff like that. So if I'm thinking, okay, today we'll set the floor at $10 million acquisition price just to have numbers to talk off of, and someone says, okay, hey, I will buy your company for 8 million cash and 2 million Bitcoin, or 4 million cash, 4 million Bitcoin with a $2 million earnout in Bitcoin. Like there's a few ways this could happen.
Mhm.
What's the difference in accepting cash at closing at Bitcoin, no matter what the percentage is, and then we could talk about the potential for an earnout being tied to crypto later on. But what's like? How does that work from a tax standpoint if I accept cash versus Bitcoin or crypto today?
Okay. So imagine this. As you're building a business, okay? It's kind of like a movie. You have a beginning, you have a middle, and then you have the end. You've built this great business, you're ready to sell it, you're ready to be done. Close the book. You get cash for your business, you're done. You pay tax on, maybe, depending on how you're selling it, you pay tax on any gains that you made on the business, okay? If you accept something other than cash, if you accept some type of cryptocurrency, the IRS, the position of the IRS is that this is not this is not currency, this is property. So it would be the same as someone saying, I'm going to give you a million cash and a million in Apple stock, or $1 million worth of my art collection. Okay. So now you're not ending your movie. You have a sequel, because now you have 1 million in cash and 1 million in property. You're the IRS's position is going to be, you just sold your business for $2 million. We're going to treat it as you have accepted $2 million in cash. So even though you have only $1 million in cash, you still have to pay tax on $2 million worth of a purchase price. Okay. So that's number one. And then number two is, when you sell the cryptocurrency, whatever gain that you make on that, you're going to pay additional tax on that. So it's essentially a double tax for sellers. And
Yeah,
here's what
yeah,
I want.
yeah.
Here's what I want your listeners to remember. As much as cryptocurrency wants to put itself out there as saying this is another type of currency, for purposes of the IRS and for taxes, cryptocurrency is not cash, it's property, and it's going to be taxed like property.
Okay, so I'm taking notes. So I'm gonna be slow to respond because this is a new topic for me. So this is
Please,
interesting.
yes.
So,
It's a new
so
topic for everyone. And by
yeah.
the way, anyone listening to this, even you today, Ryan, you're going to be more informed than 99% of the population after today, because no one is talking about this.
And it's something that we will see. I'm sure people have seen these offers before, but it will become more popular, especially if Bitcoin and Ethereum continue to rise in popularity. Now, you did say something then that caught my attention. Okay, so we sell for $2 million, $1 million in cash, and $1 million in Bitcoin. It's treated as a $2 million acquisition, so I'm taxed on that. Now, you compared it to stocks a minute ago, and I've heard about stock harvesting, right? So let's say I sell for $2 million, and the Bitcoin plummets overnight. So that $1 million Bitcoin goes down to $500,000 in Bitcoin, and then I sold that Bitcoin. Is that then a tax harvesting play? That's risky. I'm not saying that people should do that, but just if I'm hearing that, I'm going, oh, okay. Or if the Bitcoin goes from that $1 million of Bitcoin goes up 500,000, now it's 1.5 million in Bitcoin. So how and then if I hold so if I hold it, I get that there's a $2 million value even if the price goes up or down. Is that correct?
Your purchase price, no matter what,
okay,
is going to be, whatever the fair market value of, say, let's say it's Bitcoin, whatever the fair market value of the Bitcoin is on the day that you close, on the minute that you close, because the price of Bitcoin is changing by the minute. Okay. So, and then we can get into the details, but okay. So you closed for 2 million, 1 million cash, 1 million in Bitcoin. Hopefully, between the time that you set the price and the time that you close, it's still worth 1 million. So it's all going to be about like, and this is why you would need a tax attorney. This is also why you would want to charge a premium for your business. If you're going to say to your buyer, hey, I'm selling my business for 2 million. And they're like, great, I'll give you 1 million cash, $1 million worth of Bitcoin. Okay. You might say, well, I'm taking a huge risk accepting the Bitcoin. I will do that, but I need a 30% premium on the purchase price consideration, because now I need a tax lawyer who understands crypto. I need a financial advisor who understands crypto, and I'm offloading a huge risk. You're offloading your risk onto me. Why don't you just sell your Bitcoin, convert it into cash, and pay cash money to me?
okay. So let me ask a dumb question then. Someone comes to me and they say this. I want to do a million. Could I go to them and say, okay, hey, this is a huge risk. The Bitcoin could go down, it could go up. I don't know what's going to happen. The cash, I kind of understand, barring World War III breaking out, what the value of that's going to be. Can I just say to them, you mentioned one option, but is it possible for me to say, okay, hey, I'm going to call my tax attorney, I'm going to call Rita up and get a price of my tax bill for next year? Can they just pay that tax bill for you to eliminate some of that risk in case the Bitcoin goes up or down? Is that something that you can negotiate with that?
You can. I mean, you can have a tax gross up, you can have a guarantee, you can have a floor. There's lots of things that you can do. Let's back up for a minute. So, why would you want to accept a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin? Okay. So, let's say this is the first business that you've ever sold, okay? And you're 30 years old and you know that you're going to buy and sell more businesses. But say you need the cash from this business to fund your next business, okay? You're probably not going to want to accept Bitcoin. Say this is your 10th business and you're 65 years old, you've already sold 10 businesses. You have you're okay. You don't need the liquidity. And you're interested in crypto, you want to own some Bitcoin. It's all going to depend on the individual seller's risk profile, risk tolerance, and liquidity needs.
Okay, so we get this $1 million in Bitcoin, and just to make this a little bit easier, we close on December 31st, right? So the tax bill is set. Okay, so we get the
Right.
minute. Okay, just to make
Yeah.
this easier. Okay, so so coming in 2026, we're recording this in 2024, 2025. So 2026, we say, okay, this is our tax bill. So if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying, I think, is if you sell for 2 million, whatever your tax bill is before this liquidation event, you need to have the cash to cover the tax bill without selling the crypto. I'm sorry, you
Hmm.
put the two up. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, for 2 million. Yep.
yeah. For the 2 million, in
Mhm.
2026 or 2027 or whatever this is
Yeah.
you're listening to this, because you're going to pay cash on that. Because if you did a close at 9 a.m. on the last day of the year and you got 2 million and then you sold the Bitcoin 5 minutes later for the cash value, what happens then? Because that's a different tax event, right?
Mhm. If you sell it if you sell it for 1 million, which was the fair market value at which you got it, then your cost basis covers you. There's no gain. You're done. What I would worry about is if you got the 1 million in Bitcoin on the last day of the year and the next day it plummets. The IRS doesn't care. They don't care that it's not worth any money today. They care that it was worth money on the last day of the year when you accepted it. But if you don't have the money and you don't have the liquidity, you have a huge tax bill you can't pay.
And you can't pay the taxes in the Bitcoin, correct?
Cannot pay taxes in Bitcoin. I looked it up but right before we started just to be
Okay,
sure.
I've heard the Bitcoin people talk about some of that stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm not a. This is I am a complete idiot here. So please, I have no clue.
You're 99% more educated now than you were than the general population. You're good.
Okay, great, great, great. I'm still an idiot. That's fine. Okay, so I get this $2 million, a million Bitcoin, a million in cash, and I need to have the cash in hand or the risk tolerance to understand that if it plummets before I sell it to pay the tax bill, the IRS is not going to go, oh, well, we get that you sold on January 3rd when it started to fall. Oh, we get that. They're going to say, no, your bill is capped at that $2 million mark. And
Mhm.
so you are locked in there. You can't roll this into any kind of IRA or it's just like accepting cash. Now you mentioned other types of people might pay in. I think you said art or stuff like that, or stocks or stuff like that. And real estate comes to mind. What if they said, "Hey, I'm going to give you some real estate that's worth. I have it appraised. It's worth $2 million." That's the same type of mentality as the crypto. Is that the same?
Okay,
No.
so actually this is really interesting because remember the 2008 crash? Okay. So what happened in the history just repeats itself. So what happened in the 2000s is that there were some deals where buyers were saying, "Let me give you some real estate as part of the consideration." Okay, well, there's some kind of rollover, and this is what buyers were saying: real estate never goes down in value, only appreciates. It's better than cash. Okay, then 2008 happened. Okay, and everything crashed. But it's the same exact thing. You sold your business for 1 million cash, and then a building, say that was fair market value, 1 million. Okay. You sold it on the last day of the year. Then say you sold it in 2007 and 2008, everything crashes. You still owe $2 million. You still owe tax on the $2 million for which you sold your business, even though your property is worth nothing now.